Hello everyone, a very good morning to you and welcome to the sunshine here in Portugal. It is round 4 of the Ferrari Challenge Europe Season 4 2024. And you join us bright and early, just a few moments away from 9 o'clock in the morning local time, before we get qualifying underway for our Copa Am drivers to set the grid for their race to come a little later. So midway point of our season then. Here we find ourselves in Portugal with still to come the south of France, Germany and of course Italy, with round 7 being held in Imola mid-October. So beautiful temperatures that we have here in Portugal, where genuinely for the last couple of days it has been so hot. We are expecting the temperatures to be a bit cooler today, so we will see how that comes out, but this is where we are. Beautiful location then on the Algarve. We are about 25 minutes or so from the city centre of Portimão. If it could be described as a city centre, more of a town I would have suggested, but the scenery is utterly beautiful. And the temperature, as I say, last couple of days has been really warm. Today we're not expecting it to be as warm. Bit of wind around 11 kilometres per hour. Current air temperature is 20 degrees. Current track temperature 22 degrees. That's how it looks at the moment. And as you can see, this circuit winds its way through the Portuguese countryside here. And we've made a few visits to Portimão with the Ferrari Challenge in the years gone by. And generally always accompanying me is Nico Spalek. And we don't change that, because why would you alter a winning combo? He's here with me today. Good morning.
Winning combo, good morning. And it's our win that you are with us and watching this slate of qualifying sessions that we have this morning, and we kick everything off with Copa Am in just about 2 minutes time. And yeah, as you're already saying, you can see from the trees there's quite a little bit of wind around, and that's really brought the temperatures down. It's not expected to be as hot across today and tomorrow as it was over the last few days, but it's certainly going to be nice, sunny, no chance of rain that to speak of. I mean, pigs can fly, as we know, but we expect a dry couple of days of qualifying and racing, and this is the circuit.
4.6 kilometres, 14 turns, 6 of them left, 8 of them are right-handers. The longest straight is almost a kilometre long. It's 969 metres, and that's the run between across the start-finish straight from the final turn number 15, through to turn 1. So there we can see Alvaro Ramos then, a local driver, and had a good time chatting with Alvaro over the course of the weekend. He drives for the Santigol Arujo Competição team, and a really interesting man to talk to. And I have to say, at the risk of being biased, he's won favour with me. He brought from a refrigerator in the garage some chilled cherries, Portuguese cherries. And honestly, I'm not a fan of cherries, generally speaking, but these were like just the most sweetest grapes you've ever tasted. Absolutely delightful. Thank you, Alvaro. We saw Mudlu Tazev, and now we can see Eric Chung. Eric Chung, a long-standing driver in the Ferrari Challenge, driving for Formula Racing, has had quite some success this year. And he will be hoping that winning trajectory will continue over the course of the 2 races he will contest in Portugal this weekend. Then we can see Shintaro Akatsu then. Quite a bit of focus there on the face of Shintaro then, as the hands device is just being secured. He drives for the Ineco team, as you can see, car number 115. And those are the sort of shots I love to see. And that's of almost a behind-the-scenes scene, if you will, of someone recording something on a iPhone. Other mobile devices are available, of course. And we get a green flag flying at the end of the pit lane, which means we can get this 30-minute qualifying session underway. And got some 16 drivers that will be taking to the track to try and get the best out of their wonderful 296 Challenge cars around this really rather interesting Portimão circuit. And there we can see final stages of preparation before qualifying gets underway. And, well, there's arguably the man of the moment, Nico, I'm inclined to say, and that is, of course, A guy that made his debut in the Ferrari Challenge this year, Zoe Scrimpias, and what a debut it has been.
Oh yeah, I mean, you run out of metaphors to aptly describe what he has done already this season. Came into the challenge and into the championship with no racing experience and has set the world on fire, almost literally. Really, really good, and tops the standings here in the Coppa Challenge. There is Paolo Scudieri. He's a part of the Ferrari Challenge for quite a little bit longer, and very, very welcome part of the challenge and its history as well. The history of the Ferrari Challenge obviously spans more than 30 years, 32 if I'm correct, and has seen some amazing racing, some amazing Ferrari cars have gone through the evolution of this championship, and the 296 Challenge, which we witness in this race and now qualifying session, as well as Trofeo Pirelli AM, and Coppa Shell, is a truly, truly remarkable vehicle and race car. And all the drivers, whenever we talk to them in the paddock, they just repeat over and over again how great an evolution and incarnation of the Ferrari Challenge weaponry in terms of battles this car really is.
Yes, it's met with universal approval, and very interestingly, because a number of drivers through the Ferrari Challenge have found huge success in professional motorsport careers, and this is a real springboard to those that perhaps seek a career in endurance racing or further GT racing. And I should just, if you are new to the Ferrari Challenge, and if you are, you're very welcome to join us. There are 4 categories, well, actually 5 this year, but there are 4 categories of racing, which is pretty much brought about by the racing experience you have, and also the age of the competitor as well. And we'll explain that to you during the course of our racing over the weekend. But we have our Coppa Shell AM drivers, and the AM denotes the fact that they are amateur drivers, nonetheless determined for that, I can tell you. Make no mistake, some of the best racing we see comes from this particular category of the Ferrari Challenge, of which there are 16 cars competing. And yes, to reinforce what Nico was saying, just about every driver that has got out of the all-new 296 Challenge car has said it's the closest car to a full-bodied GT3 racing car that the Ferrari Challenge has ever produced. So it is an awesome car, no question about it. As we watch the 119 car of Louis Perusquia, who is a well-traveled racer, having raced here in Europe and also North America as well. And the global reach of the Ferrari Challenge is such that, as we can see, Zoe Scrimpias here, the global reach of the Ferrari Challenge is enormous, because we have racing in Europe and North America, but not only, because we also race in Japan with a series in Japan, a series in the UK, and recently announced the Australasia region will have its own series in 2025. So it continues to grow. It continues to reach out to those regions where people are yearning for the Ferrari Challenge One Make Series. It is 32 years of this hugely wonderful One Make Series, which is so revered. And, yeah, enough platitudes for now. Let's take a look at Guy Favet for the Scuderia FMA team, driving car number 120. And like many other drivers, has had a number of seasons driving in the Ferrari Challenge, and yes, and is just as motivated today as he has ever been. And that's always nice, Nico, because there is no doubt there was an incentive for a lot of drivers this year with a brand new car, of course, and every driver really wants to be part of that. But the consistency of entry levels that we've had over the 32 years is testament to this wonderful program brought together by the Corsa Clienti department of Ferrari. And we're watching Guy Favet now qualifying his number 120 car. We have got a couple of times that have been put onto the board, but neither of them are worthy of mention yet because they're kind of just installation laps, and we're expecting the times to come tumbling down over the course of this 30-minute session where we have 24 minutes remaining.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything you just said, spot on as always, and spot on for the first moment, even though, as you say, the time is not really indicative. Our local hero, Alvaro Ramos, shout out to him having set the first very quick time, relatively. But you know, we're talking about still 15 or 20 seconds away from the times that we expect towards the end of the session to figure and be at the top of our timing chart. And as we follow Guy Farway down that very, very long home straight, and you can see 15 seconds to the grid, so 2:07.6 becomes a 1:52.2. So don't put too much stock into the times for the moment, which allows us to have a little bit more of a look at the surrounding and the track that the drivers contest this event on, as we take a look at Alvaro Ramos and the 150 car. As you can see from the graphics, dropped from P1 to P4 in the matter of a couple of minutes or seconds almost. But yeah, all of that fairly provisional and not really indicative of where things will stand in about 23 minutes time.
You're right. When I was in conversation with Alvaro, I said, yeah, does this give you any advantage? Yeah, it's a local track for him, of course, home track. And he said, well, inevitably I've probably done a few more kilometers than some of the other drivers here, he said, but when you measure that against the driving and racing that they have done relative to what I have done, it kind of evens itself out. So any home advantage that you know could be perceived is very quickly taken away. So we will see how he performs. Of course, there is no doubt about it. He will have friends, family, and guests here this weekend. And you know, I often mention this to drivers: is this an additional incentive, or actually is it additional pressure that you feel? Because you kind of want to perform, don't you? And Mutlu is doing that right now in the 134 car. He's currently third fastest. It is Guy Farway that has set the best time so far, but we are expecting the times to come down significantly, as perhaps the Ferrari racing driver Mutlu is proving now, because he's gone quicker than anyone through Sector 1 and Sector 2 right now. If you see a purple block at the top of the clock counting down at the bottom of your screen, that is because they're setting personal bests, setting overall bests. If it's blue, it's a personal best. If it's grey, it's not worth us talking about. I'm being really rather playful. Of course, it's worth talking about, but it's the times that are coloured that mean the most. We only still, even the early stages of this qualifying session, we've only seen 4 drivers out there on track, and Louis Perusquia is one of those. Louis is a long-term Ferrari Challenge campaigner and a really, really super guy, and races, as I mentioned, here in Europe and also in North America as well. Guy is determined to go even quicker. He is currently the fastest driver with a 150.164. But again, Sector 1 coloured purple, which means that he's going for an improvement in time on this lap, although he runs quite wide there, trying to get something of a slingshot. And that means that he has thus far on the cumulative time taken 1.267 seconds out. So we'll see what he is able to do, but all the indicators are that this is going to be an improvement for the Scuderia FMA driver. But a car of almost identical livery has just gone quickest of anyone, and that's Jan Sandman for Kessel Racing. And he's gone quickest with a 149.888. So here's Guy then, rounding out the final turn. Carries as much speed along this almost kilometre-long straight and breaks the timing beam with a time of 149.182. 149.182. Now, you may think this is a really, really good time to be out on track and qualifying. But it's the first running of any cars on the track this morning, which means it will take some laps for the track to rubber in. And these drivers from our Ferrari Challenge Copa Shell AM category have probably got the coldest track temperature that any of our racers is going to have today. We expect the temperature to rise. Of course it will. That means they're searching harder and working harder for the grip. So Jan Sandman, who I mentioned just a few moments ago, was momentarily P1. That's just been usurped by Guy Favet. But as you can see from the purple sector 1 and purple sector 2, Jan Sandman is going for an improvement here. He's got traffic ahead of him, which is perhaps a tad unfortunate. Hopefully it won't cause him to lose too much concentration. However, he's going to head towards the timing line now. As you can see, it's broken his rhythm, Nico. And that means that this lap is probably not where he would have wanted it to be. The delta was going to be such that he was on such an improvement. But as he crosses the timing line now, you can see that he had to bail in that final sector, and that cost him, at the very least, 7.5 tenths.
Yeah, you could definitely see how he abandoned the lap, and unfortunately where it happened on the track, it meant that also this lap, which he just started, is not going to be a very quick one. He was 2.2 seconds to the good following sector 2, finished the lap 7 tenths down, so at least those 3 seconds you can kind of attribute to that. And I mean, it's still fairly early stages in this qualifying session, so all the chance in the world to rectify that. But with traffic currently still relatively low intensity, it's going to heat up towards the end of the session. So any lap you can put into the books is one that you have, and one you don't have to do. So unfortunately, but not the end of the world. There is the ML Ferrari racing team.
Now this is good to see. Andrea Levy. Now, during one of the free practice sessions, really unfortunate incident through no fault of his own on the long straight, the start-finish straight. The car made contact with the barriers, and you know, we were all very concerned. And I was in the pit lane at that time, as I think you were as well, and we were filming a piece that you'll see in one of our programs over the course of the weekend. Everyone dived to the pit wall because it didn't half clatter along the start-finish straight, and furthermore meant we had to go again with a take in terms of the production that we were working on. How inconvenient was that? I'm jesting, of course. But the point I want to make is that even at a high speed contact like that, within minutes, Andrea Levy was walking down the pit lane absolutely perfectly okay, because the integral safety of the 296 Challenge car is absolutely undaunted. It's extraordinarily safe car to drive. So that was good to see, and it's really good to see that the team worked really hard. And the Andrea Levy car will be back out on track again for qualifying in but a few moments' time. So well done to Rosso Corsa, a team, of course, who were featured in one of our earlier programs this season, a team with much heritage in the Ferrari Challenge. And, another driver with heritage of speed is Andreas Koenig, who has gone to the top of the charts for Go Motorsport and Haupt Racing Team. And the standard of the teams that we see in the Ferrari Challenge, I mean, Nico, you come from that great country, Germany, which is one of my favorites, primarily because everything works. And the Haupt Racing Team, HRT, have been around for a long time, and they're a revered team, and, you know, they are in the Ferrari Challenge, as indeed are Pelin Racing and Kessel and Rosso Corsa and Emil Frey and so many other teams that we could mention. You know, these drivers have an absolute wealth of choice when it comes to what team they'll choose to run their cars. And Giuseppe Romelli, who we can see here, who's going very quick, has been very loyal to Stefano Pelin and Pelin Racing. You know, all the teams, there's almost as much competition between the teams, Nico, as there is from the drivers. And of course, at the end of the year, there is a very big Copa team trophy to be won.
Yeah, absolutely. And I even though there is, for the qualifying and the race, there is only one person in the car, there are so many people working on that car and putting the drivers and the cars, obviously, into the best possible position to succeed and to put in the best results come race day and qualifying. And even though there is only one name as a driver named on the graphics here, it actually represents a huge team and a huge team effort. And going back to the Andreas Koenig example, and we might pick that up a little bit later, at the Balaton Raceway, there was a huge example of how a team and driver combination figures into the success, where it was a little bit of a weather lottery, I want to say. It wasn't quite sure what it was, but the team advised him, stay calm, wait a little bit longer, and then go out, and it worked to perfection with a pole position. But Andrea said, if it had been down to me, I was anxious to go out, but it was a team call, it was a team pole position that he got in this race, and there we pick him up again. And pole position is obviously the best you can achieve for the race, and that's what he is going for. You can see the sector times colored light blue, which means it's a personal best. Magenta, pink, whatever the color is exactly, is a overall best. And the final sector, we will see if it stays gray. It's neither overall or personal best, but we expect a good sector time. Andreas relegated to P3 for the moment, and that becomes P2, 3/10 of the pace currently set by Giuseppe Romelli. 13 minutes remain.
Yes, you mentioned there just how influential the team was with Andreas Koenig's fine performance in Balaton in Hungary. And you walk through the paddock here, and if ever you get the opportunity to come to a Ferrari Challenge event, we would urge you to do so, because it is such a immersive experience. And you look at these teams, and for example, we're looking at Zoe Scrimpias now, which is the car is engineered by the Ineco Reparto Corsa Ram team, which is the head honcho of said team is Giorgio Sonagiotto, top racing driver. We were talking about Andreas Koenig just a moment ago, team boss of that team, Manuel Reuter, a DTM champion. There's almost as much talent inside the paddock as there is out there on the track as well, Nico. People that have earned their stripes, if you will, in terms of motor racing, so they kind of know what they're talking about, and that's why the advice that they can pass on and the strategies that they can use from the team, including, of course, the driver, are so important. And yeah, it's really good to embrace that. And as I say, if you get the opportunity to come and join us, if you're watching us right now and you're resident here in the Algarve region of Portugal, please come along. We'd love to see you. Tell them Dave sent you, or Dave and Nico, and that way he'll get the invoice for your ticket. I'm
good.
joking.
It's fine. We welcome you here. We welcome you for the rest of the season.
Indeed.
You've seen the calendar earlier. It's Le Castellet in 3 weeks' time. Then it's Nürburgring, which, I mean, weather-wise, it's going to be the pinnacle. And I'm quite jesting. And then obviously the World Final is something else entirely. I mean, that's 5 days of everything that's great about this wonderful brand on the track, in terms of racing on the track, in terms of presentation. And I do think, if history is any indication, our Le Mans 24-hour winning team from Competizione GT will make a visit there, and those drivers and officials will also be there, and you can soak in everything.
And on that note, congratulations once again to the Hypercar team for 2 years in a row taking the very top class of Le Mans, the 24-hour trophy, and delighted to say that for Nicolas Nielsen, for Antonio Fuoco, great news indeed. However, there were 3 drivers. And the third driver, Miguel Molina, who'll be joining us on the air on Sunday. So Miguel is here, and in actual fact, the Le Mans 24-hour trophy is here as well, as Paolo Scudieri rounds out another lap here at the Portimão circuit. He is currently 4th fastest. It's Giuseppe Romelli and Eric Chiong, P1 and P2, and here is the 186 car of Jan Sandman, who Sector 1 and Sector 2, once again purple. This has got a bit of a duplicate feel about it here, because just as he's rounding out the lap, he's approaching traffic, and I think that's the Tal Al-Shaer car that maybe he will come up against, but I think he's got enough of a run here that it's not going to compromise this lap. So for Kessel Racing, let's call it a wrap, as Jan Sandman goes 1.67 seconds quicker than anybody else and he's the only driver thus far, Nico, to put it into the 1:45s. And well done to him. That's great. Now, Giuseppe Romelli, he was quicker earlier, but he had his lap time deleted because of a track limit infringement, and there have been a few track limit infringements. But well done to the Kessel Racing driver, Jan Sandman, who I first met at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix last year. He is a huge Ferrari enthusiast. As I say, that's where I got to meet him for the first time. And then, lo and behold, met him again a few weeks later in Abu Dhabi when he was racing in the Ferrari Challenge Winter Challenge, which took place on the Yas Marina circuit just a few weeks after the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And Jan, well, he made his intentions quite clear at the Winter Challenge and did break the news that he would be racing in Europe this year. And he has really taken to this like the proverbial duck to water. So Jan Sandman is currently the fastest, ahead of Mutlu Tarzev and Roland Hurtner. Big shout out to Roland Hurtner, driving for the Engstler Go Motorsport team, doing a very, very good job. And may I say, at this moment, we're yet to see perhaps a time that we would expect to see from the man that's been most successful in Copenhagen so far this year, and that's Zoe Skrimpias, the very car that you can see set the stage right now, Nico.
Well, you've set the stage, I want to say, because Zoe Skrimpias, as you've already indicated and as we've discussed, he has been nothing short of stellar. And the P14 that you can see in the graphics there is not in any shape or form indicative of that form. We believe it's his first time here at the Portimão Algarve circuit, so there is some novelty factor, and every lap that he does on the track is going to benefit him. Will it be enough to take pole position or a front row start? We will see. It is one of those challenges. If you're new to this championship, he has already shown that he's mastering the 296 challenge to an immense level. But it also includes new circuits and therefore new challenges. The nuances of those circuits is all those drivers obviously have lots of advice from driver coaches, from their teams, from within the paddock, other input. But to really experience this and get those final few percent out of the car and out of the circuit, there is nothing like actual experience, and that is something that Zoe Skrimpias is gaining and gathering with every turn of the wheel, with every lap. And that means currently P14, that will change. He will surely move up the order, but it's 6 minutes 40 seconds or so remaining in this qualifying session. And, well, talent shows. P2 for the time being, a 1:45.356 as we take a look at Shintaro Katsu, the 115 car. That's turn number 1. Ooh, and he is
beware, low-flying 296s.
Absolutely, and well, held it together quite nicely, because this jump can easily unsettle the car, but good car control, even though maybe not the trajectory into the turn that he intended to. Currently he is running in P7 and trying to further move up the order, as Eric Chung has just relegated Zoe Skrimpias back onto the provisional second row, having taken the second best time, a 1:45.339, as Shintaro Katsu, I think it's fair to say, after that little jump at the beginning of the lap, this is not going to be the one that will move him up the order significantly. In the meantime, lots of quick times on our timing screen, and that includes Eric Chung, Zoe Skrimpias and Andrea Levy.
Yeah, something else that we should mention for this qualifying session, which has just under 5.5 minutes remaining, is that, of course, the tyres that the drivers are using during this qualifying session, Nico, there's a compromise to come, because the tyres that they qualify on will be the tyres that they start the race on. So there's a bit of tyre preservation potentially going on here, as we're watching Andrea Levy, who's on an improvement trajectory. So he's currently 6th fastest, but with personal best through Sector 1 and Sector 2. He will head towards breaking the timing beam after running downhill and then through the final turn here at Portimão. Then you climb uphill, heading towards the line as he crosses it right now and puts in a time which is good enough to relegate Jan Sandman to P3, but Eric Jung has just put in the first 1:44 time. Zoe Skrimpias has done the same, but he's 2-2, and there is Karina Jung, Eric's wife, lovely lady. We have some really good fun. They are lovely, lovely people, and I seem to spend a lot of time with Eric and Corinne Chung, not from any favoritism point of view, but it's just we all seem to be in the same airport lounges. Well done, Eric. He has gone quickest so far, but here comes Zoe Skrimpias, who, having listened to my learned colleague alongside me, who informed us that every single wheel turn and centimetre of tarmac that he's experiencing here in Portimão is meaning that it's more information that is being analysed and data assessed within his mind, and is getting quicker and quicker and quicker, although Sector 2 was not perhaps where he would have wanted it to be. He's being rapidly pursued by Paolo Scudieri out there on track, who at the moment, Paolo is perhaps out of position down there, 10th fastest for the San Mocar driver, Paolo Scudieri. And, you know, it's so competitive in Copichel-Am. Giuseppe Romelli, who was quickest just a couple of moments ago, now finds himself down there in P12. It could change in a heartbeat, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one who was leading this session for a moment was Andreas Koenig. He's down in P9, but he's also now going quick. Jan Sandman is responding. You can see that a lap has been deleted. That is Andrea Levy, and who's just been vaulted up to the top of our timing chart. Let's see if that is the lap that has been judged to be in violation of track limits, as we follow the Tawal Shahir car and lap to its conclusion, the 1-2-4 car of the Lebanese driver, and he stays in P8.
Talal has as driver coach one Mr. Max Blancardi, who has some pedigree in the Ferrari Championship.
Yes, that's very fair to say. He, a long time campaigner and such a good and strong competitor, not only in Europe but also taking part in the Intercontinental Challenge many years ago, and was so successful and so strong, and took the icing on the cake. I think it was back in Abu Dhabi some years ago, where he did win the world title at the World Finals in Abu Dhabi. Towards the latter half of his career, and he was really, one of those staples of the Ferrari Challenge behind the wheel, and it's so great to have so many of those drivers then stay on and stay loyal with the brand and the challenge in different roles, as we can see in that case.
Yes, Max is one of those drivers that actually he could be on the Portimão circuit with a wheelbarrow and you'd still put him in with a chance of winning a race. He's that quick. He's such a good driver. Eric Chung then has seen his P1 time momentarily usurped by Andrea Levy, but I can see that there's a track limit bar across Andrea Levy. That might have been for a previous lap, which means the 1:44.541 stands for the moment. And this is where Zoe Skrimpias, whoa, that's a beautiful drift into that turn as you run downhill. He held it nicely, but it's not the quickest way through there. Nico, this is so close at the top. We are talking about 6 1/1000ths between P1 and P2. Here comes Andreas Koenig, who's going to be able to go again because Sector 2 and Sector 3 were not where he wanted them to be. So Andreas Koenig, who, if memory serves me, has had 2 wins so far this year, and he actually started out the season by winning in Mugello. So Zoe Skrimpias then, currently P3, Andrea Levy is P1, Eric Chung is P2. And right, as we see the clock count down to 0 right now, anyone that crosses the timing line now, or up until that point that the clock counted down to 0, their lap can continue. Anyone that didn't, their quali is done and dusted. And Zoe Skrimpias for Nico Rapata, of course, a Ram team, is still pushing and pushing hard. Now, Sector 1 was good, Sector 2 not quite so. Is Sector 3 going to be so startling that it improves his P3 place? I'm afraid to say it isn't. So Zois Grimpias will be from the second row of the grid. And at the moment it's going to be Eric Chung right at the final. Goes in and puts in a 1:44.547, 6/100ths quicker than Zois Grimpias and Jan Sandman. And the reason I'm saying those names is because Andrea Levy, and I did mention as we were talking about that lap, as Eric Chung crosses the line with a 1:44.528, as Corinna is very happy with that. Andrea Levy, I was talking right at the start of the lap, he'd got, and there is Andrea Levy out of the car, he'd got a TL bar we can see on our data, which basically means track limits. Now, can Andreas Koenig pull it all out of the bag in the final sector? I think it's not going to be enough. I think he needed Sector 2 to be good as well, and it hasn't been. Here comes Andreas Koenig, currently P4, as he breaks the timing beam. He does not improve from that P4 place, so a second row start. So it's Eric Cheong from Zois Grimpias, then it's going to be Jan Sandman. Brilliant qualifying from Jan, credit to him. I think it's probably his best starting position of the year so far. And Andreas Koenig will be completing that second row.
Wow, I mean, that was the first qualifying session of the day, and quite an intense one right away. Eric Chung and Zois Grimpias will share the front row on the grid. Quite a difference. And Eric Chung, such an experienced racer and competitor in all sorts of Ferrari Corsa Clienti activities, and Zois Grimpias, the young gun, if I dare say that. Quite a difference in terms of races contested in the Ferrari Challenge between the drivers. It's going to be a very, very interesting challenge. There is Andrea Levy, who did have that very good time, but unfortunately for him, it was taken away. Obviously, the Corsa Ram team, who engineer Zois Grimpias.
And there is, just walking in shot, is Giorgio Seneggiotto, team principal. Now, Germana there with the red and yellow gilet is partner to Zois Grimpias, so they're offering support. So Eric Cheong then, who has taken P1, but it's by 8/100ths, or it's so close in the Ferrari Challenge qualifying. It's really, really good qualifying session that from our Coppa Am drivers. We'll bring you confirmation of the confirmed classification as if by magic. Here it is. Eric Cheong, Zois Grimpias, Jan Salmon, Andreas Koenig occupy the top 4 places ahead of Mutlu Tazev, Roland Hurtner, Andrea Levy, Shintaro Akatsu, then the high-flying Shintaro Akatsu. Then it's Talal Shaer, Paolo Scudieri, Stephen Earle, Alvaro Ramos. Good quality from Alvaro, well done. Giuseppe Romelli, then it's Guy Favre and Lisa Clark ahead of Louis Perusquia. That's the way all the 16 drivers for Coppa Am qualified for their session. Their race to come a little bit later on today. We've still got more qualifying action to come from the Ferrari Challenge here, live from the Portimão circuit. And here is our pole setter, Mr. Eric Cheong. For Formula Racing, well done, Eric. He's a long-term campaigner. He's raced in Asia Pacific, in Europe. He's done one race in North America as well. He knows the Ferrari Challenge like the back of his hand, and all that experience proven today as he has delivered a 1:44.528, which gives him pole position from Nico and from myself. Thank you so much for watching qualifying from Coppa Am. More qualifying to follow this morning. Bye-bye for now. Hello, everyone. A very good morning to you, and welcome to Portimão. It's qualifying one for our Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers about to get underway here at Portimão. That will set the grid for their race to come this afternoon. We're at the midpoint of our 2024 European calendar, having been to Mugello, to Balaton, to Jerez. Now we're in Portimão, ahead of La Casale, the Nürburgring and Imola, still to come to round out what has been an epic season so far for 2024. And this is where we are then. The Algarve circuit, situated about 25 minutes from the coast. Beautiful region. Bit of wind around today, as you can see, as the trees are fluttering in the 15 kilometers per hour of wind, much of which comes from this TV studio. 30 degrees the track temperature, 21 degrees the air temperature, and I have to say it's altogether more temperate than it has been for the 3 days previous to this, which have been blisteringly hot. We really have been treated to some incredible temperatures. Here then is the winding Algarve circuit, which is 4.8 kilometers. Depending on how you count them, there's 14 or 15 turns. I prefer 14, 6 left and 8 right. The longest straight that is the run from the final turn through to turn number 1 is very nearly a kilometer long, as is the success of Giacomo Altoe, who we can see here, driver of car number 2, the Emil Frey racing driver, who has had 3 wins and a P3. It's not a bad record for the young, talented Giacomo Altoe, who you can see center screen right now. A truly charming young man who's checking the rear wing settings.
Very much a hands-on driver.
Very much so.
Well, have a look.
Just not happy with that. Anybody got a 19 mil spanner?
Well, I wouldn't say unhappy, but I mean, he is checking and he's very much into his racecraft and making sure that he's on top of everything along with his team. And
there is Gianmarco Mazzialetti for the Radici Automobili team. Gianmarco is another one of our drivers who is great fun. And well, you can see drivers in their final stages of preparations before this 30-minute qualifying session, including Armin Arifport for the Riller and Schnauk team. Armin then just putting his now the little headphones, earpieces you can see there. That enables the drivers to have a constant communications with their team. Anders Bidstrup, who we're delighted to welcome to the Ferrari Challenge. Anders and Jakob Bidstrup, who are both appearing this weekend, as indeed is another new driver who we can see here. Delighted to welcome Luigi Coluccio. Franco, our director, will soon tell me if I've pronounced that surname incorrectly, but I think it's right.
which team is he racing for?
Luigi is racing for the Best Lap FCI team. I could see where you were going there in terms of trying to catch me out. Nico Spalek, who is alongside me here. And this is for Scuderia Monte Carlo, David Acabazzi.
Well, welcome also from this end to this qualifying session of Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli AM, and it has just gone green a few seconds ago. The flag, well, a little bit misbehaving in the wind, but that's all that's misbehaving. We've got about 26 drivers combined across Trofeo Pirelli, who you will recognize with a red sun strip at the top of the windscreen, and as you can see, 2 cars fighting out of pit lane with a white sun strip. That's the Pirelli M class.
The reason I'm laughing is, what we should say is, Nico and I here are the voices, of course, of the qualifying program, but behind the scenes there are hundreds of people working, from cameramen to runners to technicians to producers, one of whom is Franco Maselli, who just yesterday, Nico, in the pit lane at the end of the day as we were recording a piece to camera with some less than talented individual like me, and Franco is holding I don't know what the things are called, but it's a like sun
reflector.
And the wind was so ferocious, it very nearly took Franco out. It was hilarious. But we thank all of those that work so hard on our behalf. We are only the front end of it, trust me. The real talent is behind us.
Yeah, I mean, very good opportunity to give a great shout out to everybody involved in this, starting with the Ferrari Corsa Clienti press and editorial team, everybody in organization, and of course the great team in the TV compound and our audio engineers, video engineers, Franco Maselli, great shout out to him, obviously. Yeah, I mean, all of that you can see is very much a team product and a team effort, and what you can hear is us.
Yeah, which is, slightly unfair, really, for them. Giacomo Altoe then, his hands device is on, the crash helmet is on, the window net goes on as we look at now Max Mugelli. Max Mugelli, driver of car number 3, and drives for the CDP Eureka Competizione team. And Max Mugelli then, he'll be out on track very, very soon. There are only 30 minutes in this qualifying session. And the thing is, Nico, it's fair to point out that with 26 cars across the Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers, it's going to be very busy out there. There's Andrew Morrow. Andrew made his debut in motor racing, Nico, in motor racing just 3 years ago. Came into the Ferrari Challenge in the UK. Really set his stall out very, very early on. Second year of Ferrari Challenge UK, he won the Trofeo Pirelli Championship. And now he has a dual campaign, not only racing here in Europe, but also racing in the UK as well. Andrew Morrow, great driver. As is Kim Eriksson for Formula Racing, who we can see in the lime green coloured 296 Challenge car. He's out there on track and one of the first to show. And in fact, he is the only driver, Nico, with 26 minutes of this session remaining. He's the only driver out there on the track. So the drivers not being in a terrible hurry to get out there. Of course, every minute they leave, the track temperature increases just a tiny bit. And that means that the track evolves. It becomes even better for them. But you have to temper that with the fact that there will be a lot of cars out there towards the end of the session as well, so it's going to become very busy. And the reason that it becoming busy can be a handicap is because the drivers are all looking for track space. They're looking for the opportunity to have a clear track ahead of them so that they can set their perfect lap. They can nail every apex. And, they can hit their delta time and be unhindered by anybody else that may be on a completely different lap strategy that may impact what they are trying to do. And Kim Eriksson, well, he's chosen to go out and be very, very early. He's being joined now by Marco Zanazzi and also Armin Arifpour, who are on their way out of the pit lane.
Yeah, absolutely. And after we rightfully gave a nod to all the team that's involved in what you can see on the screen, obviously it is equally a team effort for the drivers and the teams that they compete for. And the teams will give them advice in terms of where to position themselves before they go on a flying lap. But once they put the foot down and they're at maximum speed to put in a qualifying lap, you kind of got nowhere to go but forward. And if there is another car you don't account for which slows down for some reason, you come up upon traffic, and that can royally ruin your lap, even though that other driver will do everything in their power to get out of the way and not hinder you. In some parts of the track on the long straight, that's fairly easy, but equally through some of the twisty parts of the track, it's near on impossible. And even if the other car is off the racing line, it will still draw a little bit of your attention towards that car, making sure you get around it in the right moment. Sometimes that just inevitably means that a qualifying lap is ruined, because we're talking margins, hundreds, at most tens of a second, and you can lose that so very easily. So it is, like so many things in motorsport, really, really a team effort, and the drivers try to make the most of it.
You're right. And you can see there an example of Marco Zanazzi absolutely getting out of the way of Kim Eriksson, who was on a hot lap, but you can't just make your car disappear. It's going to be there. So Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli qualifying underway. Of course, it is a busy motorsport weekend this weekend. I want to say best wishes to Charles and Carlos as they take on the mighty Silverstone in Formula One. And whilst we're talking of Formula One, Nico, I think it's only fair to say that offer our congratulations to Oliver Behrman, who of course joined us here in comms at the opening round of the 2024 Ferrari Challenge season at Mugello. So well done, Oliver, Formula One driver. That's a nice thing to say.
Yeah,
absolutely. Truly charming young man who, and I'm sorry, it sounds like we're waxing lyrical about ourselves here. We're not. Oliver joined us on the air for one race at Mugello, very kindly, and then said, "Do you know what? I've had such a good time. Do you mind if I come back again?" And it was the comm studio was littered with glitterati because we had Timo Glock, who himself is no stranger, who joined us on the air as well. So actually, you and I could take a back seat and leave it to Timo and Oliver Behrman. It's good fun.
Well, I certainly could. You didn't. You were the master of ceremonies among the racing drivers. But I mean, it just goes to show what a paddock this is and how much the camaraderie from all levels and all roles involved in the challenge and Ferrari racing, where Oliver and Timo, along with you, and it was kind of like they were almost competing for being on the air with you.
Yes.
And that just goes to show A, what great characters they are, B, what a great character and atmosphere is in the paddock. And probably sees also a testament to the great TV production we get fed to our commentary studio, and also obviously to you as you are watching and listening to us, as Kim Eriksson is not watching or listening, he is racing and he's not improving on his previous best time, but he remains the only driver who has set a meaningful time. But that will change in but a few moments as we look at our timing screen. There is Amin Arifpo, who is putting in a time, which you can see also reflected on the left-hand side of your screen. And if I finish that sentence, or if I continue it for long enough, there will be Danilo Del Favero heading for the timing line with, based on the sector times, who will serve Kim Eriksson from P1. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you timed that perfectly.
I need to take a deep breath now, I guess. Danilo Del Favero, number 9 car, Trofeo Pirelli M, as you can see from the white background in the numbering on the overall standings, and also at the top of the windscreen. The Pirelli drivers who are also taking part in this qualifying session will have a red color to identify themselves, both on the car as well as on the graphics. And there is the number 5 car of Laura Villas.
For Zenith Scuderia, Laura then. A very, very welcome addition to the Ferrari Challenge. The Ferrari Challenge attracts no end of young talent, drivers that are hoping to elevate themselves into the highest echelons of motorsport, and the Ferrari Challenge is a great place to continue their career trajectory. When you look at the likes of Laura and Giacomo Altoe and so many young drivers, Ben Svalint is another one to add to the mix there. All Pirelli drivers, all hoping to really, really move on. Ben Svalint has made no secret of the fact that his absolute ambition is endurance racing. That's where he wants to go. And, well, continuing to drive very, very quickly is Danilo Del Favero, the Penske Sportwagen Hamburg driver, who is currently P1. And Nico, you called his previous best lap, and it falls to me to do it this time because I think he's going to go even quicker than he's gone before. Are we going to get a 144 out of Danilo Del Favero? Not quite. It's a 145, 160.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I would venture to guess not yet. Hanno Laskowski, the number 85 car for Emil Frey Racing. He is in the final sector, and he is taking the final turn, that long winding turn, which is effectively already part of the home straight, because you go full throttle from there all the way until the end of that straight, where it really dips down into that first turn. And there is, after 2 light blue sectors, there is a purple at the end, and that is just enough by 24 1/1000ths of a second to elevate him up into P1, but very quickly usurped by Angelo Fontana, who is now in P1.
And he's the first driver to put it into the 44s, 1:44.898. So at the moment, all the times have been set by our Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers. We're yet to see a meaningful time from any of our Trofeo Pirelli drivers. In fact, we're yet to see, perhaps with the exception of Philippe Barron, any of the Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli drivers out there on track yet. Here comes Kim Eriksson, who stays P4. He lost time in the final sector. It's Angelo Fontana P1, Hanno Laskowski P2. Then it's Danilo Del Favero now. Anders Bidstrup making his debut in the Ferrari Challenge this weekend. Already sets out his stall and goes 4th fastest. And Danilo Del Favero is improving as he now gets a slingshot out of this final turn, carries as much speed as he can. He's currently 3rd fastest, but 2 purple sectors for Danilo Del Favero make it 3 purple sectors, and that gives us a time of 1:44.243. So Danilo Del Favero goes quickest. Here comes Angelo Fontana. Personal best through Sector 1 and Sector 2. If he could just find a couple of tenths in the final sector, he might be able to wrestle away that provisional P1 from Danilo Del Favero. Here he goes then, carrying as much speed as he possibly can into this sequence of turns. And now, running downhill, full chat flat, as Nico says, this turn becomes part of the start-finish straight. And here comes Angelo Fontana then from P3 to P1 with a big chunk of time. 4 tenths, and the first driver into the 1:43s, Nico.
Absolutely, and we see lots of movement on our timing screen on the left-hand side of the graphics. You can see a first red speck there. Is in P8. There is Philippe Barron, the first Pirelli driver who has set any meaningful time or has set a time. There will be more red, and there will be more shuffling of the times over the next 16.5 minutes plus 1 lap. As Danilo Del Favero has been relegated to P3, but he's not taking it. He wants to move up the order again, and the trajectory definitely is there, as you can see from the color coding. The light blue means it's a personal best, the purple means it's an overall best, and that means Danilo Del Favero, as he takes that final winding turn, pit entry to the right-hand side, he fully ignores that, goes up that little crest, and the timing line is not far behind. Lost quite a little bit of time on that final sector. Didn't quite see if that was traffic or any other reason there, but still got half the quali session remaining.
The number 85 car is driven by Hanno Laskowski, who's currently 2nd fastest. Jakob Bidstrup has just gone 3rd fastest, Nico. Another driver making his debut in the Ferrari Challenge this weekend. Fontana from Laskowski, from Bidstrup. Then it is Del Favero. Then it's another of the Bidstrup family ahead of Gianmarco Mazzioletti, Kim Eriksson, and Otto Blank with a good qualifying. Otto Blank being coached by one Mr. Oh, sorry, just looking at this replay, which momentarily interrupted my train of thought, where I was going to say coached by Björn Grossman. That's Andreas Berg Sorensen, who found that the tyres were perhaps not quite up to temperature yet. Had a little dip into the gravel. However, got it out and is managing to go again. And Andreas Berg Sorensen, another example of a very, very talented young driver, making a name for himself here in the Ferrari Challenge and destined for good and greater things.
Yeah, absolutely. We met him at one of the Winter Challenge events last year, I believe, for the very first time, and he is certainly holding his own in the Ferrari Challenge. Yeah, cold tires can catch you out, even though the track is not that cold. You know, they need to get into their peak operational window, and
this is Jakob Bidstrup, Nico, with purple sector 1 and purple sector 2, making his debut in the Ferrari Challenge this weekend. And What a debut this could be. Trofeo Pirelli Am driver.
Although that in
I beg your
picture,
pardon. That in picture is Danilo Del Favaro.
yeah, but Bitstrup is right behind him, and he will cross the finish line or the timing line in but a few moments. He that final sector wasn't there, so maybe there was traffic, or the Del Favaro car may have distracted or hindered him in that moment.
Some messages, or a message that came out of the Bitstrup family when I was talking to them yesterday, Nico, which you'll be pleased to hear, is that best wishes were to be passed on to us from one Mr. Christian Overgaard.
Oh,
Former Ferrari Challenge racer who the message kind of alluded to the fact that Christian could be back next year.
Oh.
Lovely to see you, Christian. If you're watching this qualifying, I hope you and the family are well. We really miss you on the track.
absolutely. Oh, that's really, really great. And I mean, having him back as part of this great group of drivers would be wonderful. Wonderful.
Here's Otto Black then. The driver I was mentioning is being coached by Björn Grossman. Again, no stranger to success, and another talented young driver, and he is coaching Otto Blank, the Lueg Sportivo Herto racing driver. Otto Blank then currently 9th fastest. The best of the Trofeo Pirelli drivers to have set a time so far is a welcome returnee to the Europeans, and that's Dylan Medler, North American racer, who just next weekend will be traveling to the New York region of the United States. We'll be racing at Watkins Glen, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be there to call the action as well. So looking forward to that. A track I've never been to in North America. So we mentioned in the opening to our qualifying programs earlier today, the appeal of the Ferrari Challenge is worldwide, Nico.
100%, and you've mentioned it before that there is a new region coming up for the 2025 season, which is Australia and
wider region, Australasia.
There you go. We still haven't seen quite a few of the drivers, and a lot of them are Pirelli drivers in this qualifying session, at least not with meaningful times. And we expect those final 12 minutes or so of this session to really, really heat up when it comes to Pirelli and Pirelli Am, but mostly for Pirelli, because everything to play for there. You can see on the screen you got two of the Bitstrups, because there is not only one of them. On screen, however, for the moment, it's the unmistakable livery of Hendrik Viol. And if I called that wrong,
You didn't.
I'll be trouted.
You most certainly didn't. Hendrik Viol, who's having a stellar season for Scuderia Prague, and Hendrik, great guy. But as you can see, the graphics and the pictures that we're seeing at the moment, it's about the Formula Racing duo, the Bitstrups, who are running P3 and P5 currently in the times, but improvements coming from potentially one of them, if not both of them, over the course of the next laps. And yes, with the final 11 minutes remaining in this qualifying session for Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli, on behalf of all of us here, if you're watching, we're delighted that you are, and welcome to Portimão, midway point of our 2024 calendar for this year. The best of the Pirelli drivers at the moment is Dylan Medler for Pelin Racing, and of course the Collection Miami. That's who he drives for, and Dylan is another one of those really young drivers, Nico, that is hoping to elevate into even greater things in terms of racing. Having achieved a lot is this man, Philip Barron, who is going to cross the timing line right now, and well, Philip Barron puts in a time of 1:43.072. Now, at the risk of offending him, Philip is not one of our younger drivers. He's certainly still in the full flush of youth-ish, but Philip has not only done much, he's won much, and he's worn the t-shirt several times, and he is a talented driver and team boss now, but the opportunity was gifted to him to be in the car this year and actually go back to racing. And someone like Philip Barron, once you've got the racing bug and the Ferrari Challenge racing bug, an opportunity to get in the car and be competitive again was one that he could not resist.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, he became a race winner again last time around. Just 2 weeks ago in Jerez in Spain, he won race 2, a very entertaining and eventful race, and he came out victorious. And you could see how much it meant to him with all the team. He really celebrated it, and not that Philip Barron needs any extra incentive to win again, but having tasted the sweet taste of victory again, he is certainly gonna go out again here at the Portimão Algarve circuit. You can see purple sector 1, so that previous lap time, the 1:43.072 that he just put in, for him is just a starter, and he is going for more main course, if you will, dessert afterwards, probably in the race, if everything goes according to plan. I think we're getting very culinary right now.
Yes, we are a bit. Philip then crosses the timing line now, and it's not an improvement, but it's not an improvement by much, because it was 6/1000 slower. That's all. Here comes Dylan Medler then. But Dylan had a brilliant sector 1, not quite such a good sector 2. The target time is 1:43.072. He crosses the timing line, he's 6/10 down, so he will go again. He's third fastest within class. That's fourth fastest overall, because Luigi Coluccio has gone very, very quickly in the number 13 Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli car, and Max Mugelli has just gone second fastest, Nico.
Yeah, and Henrik Viol, the M driver, is really pushing, and he's mixing it up and has been mixing it up with the Pirelli drivers for most of the season. And
I agree.
He is really, really quick, and he might challenge for that P1 overall, certainly challenging for P1 in class. You can see second in class, becomes first in class, second overall with a 1:43.078, and that's just 6/1000 of the Philip Barron time. There is Laura Villas, another of our Pirelli M drivers. And she now in that, half black, half pink car. And I mean, cold tires, we've said it before. When you try to push, it can catch you out, but no harm done. Kept it all on the grey stuff, and therefore she can continue and will set a quick time in due course. She currently in P21 has just quickly dove back into the pit line, or dived back into the pit lane, for her team to have another look, but she's going to come out again. Now, Max Mugelli, Luca Ludwig, Benz Valant, Giacomo Altoe. Quite a lot of our Pirelli drivers haven't really set a meaningful time, and with 6.5 minutes remaining, that is supposed to change, certainly when it goes according to plan, but sometimes in racing it doesn't.
The Emil Ferrari Racing drivers, we're looking at Max Mugelli here. What a brilliant onboard shot. Let's carry this shot all the way to the timing line, because this could be a new provisional P1. Not quite, just 4/10 down. The Emil Ferrari Racing driver, Giacomo Altoe, Nico, hasn't set a time yet. And I'm guessing, and it is only guessing, that the strategy here is the team will find a window of tarmac for him to go out on, and he will go out and try and preserve rubber and get the quickest time that he possibly can. He is out. He's gone fifth fastest for the Pirelli drivers. Here's Benz Valant, another one that's left it quite late before his meaningful qualifying. But this, in my opinion, is a decision that the teams have made to try and preserve rubber for the race to come this afternoon, because the tyres they qualify on are the tyres they will race on.
Yeah, definitely. The fact that it's a little bit cooler, or quite a bit cooler than the last few days, certainly is going to help tire longevity.
Yes.
The Pirelli P0 is obviously great rubber to race on, but after qualifying and 27, 28, 29 minutes, they're supposed to go off to a small degree, because that's how the tires are designed to be.
Yes.
Because only that way they give you that peak optimum window to which to qualify on. And so tire preservation is very much a part of motorsport and very much a part of the Ferrari challenge. And Benz Valant is going for it, and he is putting it on to P2, currently P3 overall. So he's edging towards the front end, and edging towards the front end also is Klaus de Branson, is Giacomo Altoe. Lots of drivers on a upward trajectory.
Very much so. The final 4.5 minutes of this qualifying session are going to be very exciting, because there are a number of drivers that, if you were to take a picture right now, are out of position. This is Max Mugelli, who's been awesomely quick. And also, as you can see, as he drifts the car through the right-hander, that isn't the quickest way necessarily, but Max will go again as Klaus Sebranson gives us a time in the 42s, Nico, a 1:42.903 for Klaus Sebranson. He is a Trofeo Pirelli AM driver, and he's quickest of everyone.
He's a super talented, super quick driver. I had the pleasure of talking to him back at Balaton.
Yes.
And he had a run of quite a few very unlucky races with some coming together and some unfortunate moments. The drive he put on at Jerez in race 2 was a masterpiece.
Yes.
Was a truly masterpiece, both in terms of skill and strategy. And he got back onto the winning trajectory. And you can see Max Mugelli, and yeah, you know, that's what we talked about earlier. Sometimes, hard as you try, and the driver in front of him really tried to get as far out of the way, but sometimes it's just impossible.
It was Philip Barron who, as you say, he tried to get as far out of the way as he could, but you can't make your car disappear. That completely ruined Max's lap. So everything that he'd invested up to that point has been ruined. He's got to just gradually now bring the car back up to temperature and back up to speed again, and he'll have to go again, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. In the meantime, Benz Valent has just vaulted all the way up into P1, both in class and overall, and there is the man who, if you looked at P1 in recent history, more often than not, his name was featured there. For the moment, he is in P3. He drives car number P2. He wants car number 2, wants P1, Giacomo Altoe.
Dare I say it, as he heads towards the timing line, this is going to be a new provisional pole time by some 4/10. A 1:41.901 from Giacomo Altoe. What a lap. What a lap. And he's done it by actually not stressing or taking too much out. The team played a part in that, the Emil Frey Racing team, by putting him out into a window of opportunity where there wasn't too much traffic around, and it allowed Giacomo Altoe to deliver a 1:41.9, and he is going again. So Luca Ludwig, while all that was going on, has crossed the timing line, and he's only 3/10 down on Giacomo Altoe. Brilliant stuff, absolutely brilliant driving in this qualifying session. And we ride on board right now, and Klaus Sebranson, you can see, up to 205 kilometers per hour, running in the 4th gear. Brakes, and then back on the throttle again, over the crest, building the speed all the time, up to 5th gear right now, 204, 210, 220 kilometers per hour for Klaus Sebranson. Great to have those graphics so that we can see exactly what's going on in the office of Klaus Sebranson, who is currently the quickest of the Pirelli AM drivers.
This man is going for it. He's currently in P2, but the split times indicate that he is challenging for P1. You can see only 1 minute remaining on the clock, only 1 sector or half a sector to do for Luca Ludwig. Currently second. He was at 100th and half up or quicker than Giacomo Altoe following sector 2. So effectively same time. So it's all down to this final sector. Didn't look the tidiest that I've seen Luca Ludwig, so I'm not sure if he's going to improve. And those are the very, very minimal margin. Good lap from him, no question about it. It is an improvement, but it's not quite good enough to unseat Giacomo Altoe. He did cross the timing line with time remaining, so he can go again. Will he decide to do so?
I would say not. Maybe.
No, I think you're right. I think that just didn't look like he was going through the paces.
Didn't look quick.
And looking at our split sector times,
Giacomo Altoe is certainly. Sector 1 looked dark grey, so that's not going to be necessarily an improvement. We have got cars that are out of position. However, the lap time of 1:41.901, we're being told, Nico, but on our message screen from race control, that lap time is under investigation. Now, I can't see any TL signs on my messages either, which would indicate that the lap time is under investigation for a track limits violation. So Giacomo Altoe, whilst at the moment provisionally is pole, And there you can see it's been put up on screen for you as well. Car number 2, the lap time of 1:41.901 is under investigation. So maybe something that they've seen that you and I haven't.
Well, we will find out. I mean, in the Ferrari Challenge, sometimes you don't have to wait for the race for the drama. Sometimes it comes thick and fast in qualifying, as the final drivers who are still on quick laps are finishing those. Marco Zanazzi is one of them, the number 69 car, currently in P8 in class with a very good first sector, decent second sector. He, by his standards, in a lowly P8 position. He's still trying to move up the order and improve. And there, thank you guys for picking that up. There is the 69 car, comes up, I think, on the Laura Villars car into the final sector. And hopefully, and Laura also is still pushing, so she's not a slow car on the track. Will it be enough? We will find out in but a few seconds time, maybe a little bit of a draft even on the final few meters. P8 for the moment, and he does improve into P4 in class. That is P9 overall, so good final effort.
So congratulations provisionally for Giacomo Altoe. Nico, can I give a big shout out to the Charles Hurst driver, Andrew Morrow, who's qualified his car P3 in Trofeo Pirelli Am. Well done, Andrew. Great showing. Great showing from Giacomo Altoe. However, I will temper that by saying that lap time of Giacomo Altoe is under investigation. Any news that we get on that, we will bring it to you. But the session is done and dusted. There are drivers that are perhaps out of position in terms of qualifying, perhaps not as far up the order as we would expect them to see. And Dylan Medler, I'm sorry to say, would be top of my table in terms of expecting to see him more towards the sharp end of qualifying. He'll be going from P7 in class, but it's quite a long way down the grid, Nico.
Yeah, that's true. A name that we haven't been able to call in this qualifying session because there was so much going on is Axel Sartingen, the returning Axel Sartingen.
Welcome back, Axel.
Welcome back. Great character. Copper Shell winner last year, elevated to Pirelli Am. His first showing after having missed the first few rounds, and he does qualifying. He finishes it in P5 within the new confines, within the new car. So great shout out. I think that is an achievement in itself, and I'm sure Axel Sartingen, true to himself, great character. He will figure more in the race. A little bit of an invisible man in this quali session, but you know, there was just so much going on around him.
Well, the Rotiform Pole Position Award has been given to Giacomo Altoe. As you can see, he holds it with some pride. And Giacomo Altoe then qualifying P1 provisionally. And here you can see the very car that delivered that time of 1:41.901, the Ferrari Challenge 296 car, engineered by Emil Frey Racing. Here comes confirmation of the classification then as it stands currently. We'll bring it on screen for you in graphics in just a moment. That's an iconic shot here at Portimão. As you look back at the tower there, which is, it kind of looks like it's race control and really important. Actually, it isn't. But nonetheless, it is one of those images of the Portimão circuit that always travels. There's Klaus Branson. What a good job he did in Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli Am, putting it P1. With a 1:42.903. He's congratulated by Kim Eriksson alongside there. Great camaraderie inside the garages. The Bitstraps then, you know, I have to say, have done very, very well in the Ferrari Challenge. Great to see. Great to see. And there is Ben Svalint, and to his right-hand side, Nico, his driver coach. You can hear that conversation going on between Ben Svalint and his driver coach, Antonio Luizzi, who, fair driver in his day, it has to be said. So still no further news with regards to that lap time. As Marco Zanazzi then, who also did a very, very good job in qualifying P4 in class. There was a P1 in him earlier on, but of course towards the end of the session it becomes very lively indeed. So the Pinetti Motorsport driver into some of the garages here, which are delightful to look at. The Paolo Scudieri car. There you can see the John Dillon car, the 151 car. There's Carlo from the team. And well, lots of drivers have guests and friends and family that will come and enjoy a weekend here in Portugal. It ain't a bad place to be, as the Andrew Morrow car is. There's James Owen. James Owen, another Ferrari Challenge driver, and James just taking a look at the, where did he qualify? P12 in class. Well done, James. In the Gome Engstler Motorsport garage right now, taking a look at all the graphics and the data, and yeah, we await the classification. The reason the classification is late in coming is because we're still awaiting news from race control with regards to that 1:49.901, which is the time that was set by Giacomo Altoe. Well, now, because we have the classification, I would suggest that that's been confirmed. Giacomo Altoe, then Luca Ludwig, Ben Svalin, Philip Barron, Max Mugelli, Luigi Coluccio, and then Dylan Medler. They are the top Trofeo Pirelli drivers. For the Pirelli AM drivers, of course, it will be Klaus Branson on the top step, ahead of Hendrik Viol and Andrew Morrow. Great quality, Andrew. Marco Zanazzi. Axel Sardigan on his return, 5th fastest. Well done, Axel. Then it's Angelo Fontana, ahead of the Anders Bidstrup, Hanno Luskowski, Jakob Bidstrup, then David Akabadze, Danilo Del Favaro, James Owen, Kim Eriksson, Gianmarco Martialetti, Otto Blank, Andreas Berg Sorensen, I beg your pardon, it's Andreas Boris, who was P16 in class. Then it was Laura Villars and Armin Arifpour, and actually Andreas Berg Sorensen not setting a lap time in that qualifying session. So there we have it. The Trofeo Pirelli qualifying done. We'll next see the Trofeo Pirelli cars out there on track for their race 1. We will be bringing you the Copa Shell and 488 qualifying shortly. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye. Hello everyone, welcome to Portimão. And here in Portugal, we're about to get the 20-minute qualifying session underway for our 5 488 Challenge drivers. Now, of course, if you're familiar with the Ferrari Challenge, you'll be well aware of the fact that we are midway in our calendar for 2024 here in Portugal before heading to the south of France, then Germany, and then Italy to round out our 2024 calendar. And the 488 Challenge car was such a successful challenge car that a number of drivers still racing them in a separate category this year here at the Algarve circuit. So whilst we see a lot of the all-new Ferrari Challenge 296, there are some 488 cars that are still competing. And the track, as you can see, temperature is 34 degrees, the air temperature 21 degrees with about 18 kilometers per hour of wind around at the moment. This International Autodrome, the Algarve, then is quite a tricky track for the drivers to master. 4.8 kilometers with 14 turns for them to get the best out of. And our 488 Challenge drivers in their 20-minute qualifying session are about to experience the track. Certainly not for the first time. They've been out in test sessions over the course of the weekend and free practice sessions, but this are the first, if I dare say it, meaningful and important times that they will set on their efforts to give them the best possible starting position. Now, the 488 cars will line up behind the Copa Shell cars when it comes to racing this afternoon, but their qualifying session, they get a 20-minute dash all to themselves, all 5 drivers: Alexei Komarov, Ivan David Mari, Tommy Lindroth, Pino Frascaro, and the car that you can see heading down the pit lane right now, Pino Frascaro, who has, I beg your pardon, that is Fabrizio Fontana, which is what I meant to say. Fabrizio Fontana, who's had something of a fantastic time of it in the Ferrari Challenge. He comes into the Ferrari Challenge from rally driving, Nico, but he has he's really taken to the Ferrari Challenge and circuit racing in general, and has a rich vein of success thus far, and is certainly leading the 488 Challenge points. And you certainly wouldn't bet against him adding another point from qualifying, which is what's awarded for pole position, ahead of the race to come this afternoon. So Fabrizio then, a welcome addition to the Ferrari Challenge, and being coached by another driver with a rich vein of motorsport success, Stefano Guy, and much of that success coming, of course, in the Ferrari Challenge from years gone by.
Yeah, definitely, and he's still very much a very good racer with Ferrari in other forms or in other competitions like the Italian GT, and he's stayed very loyal and a great representative of this wonderful brand. And he shares, as you already said, his knowledge and all his experience. And Fabrizio Fontana really showing great in this season, not driving sideways too much, which unlike in his rally experience, where that is sometimes called for, it's very spectacular in circuit racing. It's not necessarily the quickest or best way to preserve the Pirelli P0 tires. So he has performed really well all through the year thus far, and with a fairly dominating lead in the championship. But every day is a new day, and as we've said many times before, and it has been proven right even more times in the Ferrari Challenge, anything can happen, and most days it will. So as the drivers go through the warm-up routine, the first few minutes of these 20-minute shortened session goes by without very meaningful or any times for the time being on the left-hand side of your screen. And Fabrizio Fontana is diving back into the pit lane. I don't think he will go into that slot.
These grid boxes, and this is just Ferrari's attention to detail, isn't it? Every grid box delineated with your name and your race number, as you can see, and the cars are all parked in their garages millimetrically perfectly, Nico. You know, it's that Ferrari attention to detail which makes this one-make championship so appealing to drivers, to spectators, the team of Formula Racing just taking a look at the Fabrizio Fontana car. He went out for an installation lap, found that something wasn't exactly to his liking, and he's brought the car back in again.
Yeah, you know, it's obviously you got some experience and some records, but with tire temperatures and everything, you want everything to be absolutely perfect to put the ideal qualifying lap out there, and sometimes you just need to ascertain how exactly the track feels when you drive on it, and that, I believe, is exactly what Formula Racing have done. Fabrizio Fontana went out early, got some first hand or first wheel contact with the track, got some experience, and now they're adjusting the car so he can go out again in but a few moments time to go about his qualifying efforts in earnest, as we watch the 219 car of Ivan David Murray,
who is on for probably posting our first meaningful time. So Alexei Komarov, Ivan David Murray, the car that we're watching, Tommy Lindroth, Pino Frascaro and Fabrizio Fontana are the 5 drivers that will contest the 488 challenge competition during the course of this weekend here in Portimão in Portugal. So the 219 car then, engineered by Garage Zenith Best Lap FCI with a that's interesting, 2-minute 488. Couldn't make that up really, could you? Driving the 488, and that's exactly what his time is, 2 minutes and 488 increments. So Ivan David Murray, Pino Frascaro, who is P2 at the moment, and Alexei Komarov for the Scuderia Prague team, and on his way out of the pit lane now as Ivan David Murray is improving still further. As you can tell from the colour purple on the Sector 1 box on the graphics at the bottom of your screen. You run wide there almost deliberately to try and get a slingshot to take you up the hill. You have to be careful not to run too wide and encourage the attention of our race stewarding team for exceeding track limits, but at the moment there's no TL sign up on the Ivan David Murray line on the timing screen. So for now, Sector 1 and Sector 2 both remain very, very good improvements, with a split time which is very nearly 5 seconds down on his previous best time, which was the best time of anyone. So we'll see what Ivan David Murray can do at the conclusion of this lap. You can hear the Pirelli tyres squeal in protest as the drivers try to maximize everything they can and take everything in and out of the car that they can. And running downhill now on turn 14, which is almost part of the almost kilometre-long straight here at Portimão, and well, he's certainly made time up in the final sector with a time posted of 1:54.040. 1:54.040. Fabrizio Fontana is back out again, and immediately Nico has gone through Sector 1 a second and a bit quicker. So Fabrizio is obviously, whatever minute adjustments the team were making to that car when he pulled it back in after his installation lap have worked, I would suggest.
Yeah, for sure. And Sector 1, as you already pointed out, extremely quick. Sector 2, we will see where the clock stops after sector number 2. It's going to be a few more seconds away. Ivan David Murray, after putting that quick lap in, the next lap has been TL'd, which means the first sector he had an excursion across the track limits in a way that race control is not happy with, and says, well, you know, that lap, I think we're not going to really count. Still counting very much is Fabrizio Fontana, and he's counting on Sector 3 to be as good as the first two, and that would give him a provisional pole, because he's already 3.4 seconds to the good following two sectors, Sector 1, Sector 2, therefore 2 times purple on the graphics, and only a few seconds away, the 269 car of Formula Racing for Fabrizio Fontana, the 1:48.455, and that is 5.5 seconds quicker than the time set by Ivan David Murray. So, familiar positioning for Fabrizio Fontana. It's P1 provisionally.
the rotiform pole position awards that Fabrizio Fontana has picked up are such that he has his own collection. You get that rotiform pole position award, and not only do you get that, you get an additional point to add to your tally of championship points haul. As we watch Alexei Komarov right now for Scuderia Prague Racing, he's currently third fastest in our 488 Challenge drivers. The driver of the number 211 car, who is, to say, his previous time at 1:56.937. So he's looking for and hoping for improvements. And also targeting improvements here is Fabrizio Fontana, already having gone quickest by some measure of anybody else with a 1:48.455. He seems somewhat dissatisfied with that and is going again, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure about the dissatisfied part, but obviously the drivers go through a progression, and the Pirelli P0s will reach their optimum peak condition for a qualifying lap. And it's exactly that window where Fabrizio Fontana is currently moving his 488 Challenge Evo. And he did put in a very, very good lap last time around. This time he is still a little bit quicker, half a second through 2 sectors. So expect him to make the most of that. And with 10 minutes remaining, is then the question of will he go again, or will he believe that for the moment that's as much as he needs to take out of the tires. Actually lost a little bit of time in the final sector, as you can see. It's still an improvement, but not by as much as maybe we anticipated. So it's kind of a little bit of a strategy thing. Does he believe he's done enough? Does the team say, well, you know, preserve the tires, or just put another banker in there?
I owe much of my burgeoning waistline to the Frascaro family. Pino and Pino's wife, who I call Mrs. Pino, always greet me at any Ferrari Challenge event with a huge bar of chocolate, which is just delightful of them. However, it's not done the gym any good. Pino Frascaro then, he's currently 5th fastest. Tommy Lindroth has set a time of 1:56.997, but Pino Frascaro hoping to improve here as he heads towards the timing line. Well, here comes Tommy Lindroth now as we run the bar on the Tommy Lindroth car, coached, of course, by Fabienne Volvend, young lady, successful young lady racer who certainly used the Ferrari Challenge to elevate her career, and now she's coaching Tommy Lindroth. And Fabienne doing a good job in coaching Tommy, because we're seeing some of the best racing out of Tommy this year than we've seen before. And Tommy Lindroth, a long-standing Ferrari Challenge driver, he breaks the timing beam now and goes 2nd fastest, Nico, with a 1:51.085. And Fabrizio Fontana is on an improvement trajectory once again. Now, if he can just keep Sector 3 keen and mean, which is where he lost a little bit of time last time around, this could be a time into the 1:47s potentially. Well, not quite. He was just down a little bit. It's a 1:48.228 for Fabrizio Fontana. Tommy Lindroth, then Alexei Komarov, then Ivan David Mari, and then it is Pino Frascaro.
Yeah, and with 8 minutes remaining, we can see still improvements from all our drivers on our timing screen. One of them is Alexei Komarov, who just put another very quick first sector. Will it be enough to get on terms with Fabrizio Fontana? Recent history suggests it's going to be a tough ask for anybody to get on terms with him, because he's been just so consistent and so steady. But you never know, and we will find out. Fabrizio, in the meantime, he is not pushing. This lap is not one that he is pushing to the maximum. Alexei Komarov, meanwhile, he is. The first sector, as we already said, personal best. Sector 2 time coming up now. That wasn't quite up to the same lofty standards of Sector 1. So let's see, will he settle for P3 for the time being, or will he go for another one? Not looking like this is on pace for an improvement.
Scuderia Prague racing Alexei Komarov, driver of the 211 car, rounding the final sequence of turns before that run downhill where you can carry so much speed, heading towards the uphill apart before the undulations level out and you cross the timing line.
And it was an improvement.
Yes.
But not in terms of position, although he got within 22 one-thousandths of Tommy Lindroth, so really, really close, 6.5 minutes. So if you can find just that little bit of extra, he might make it onto the front row, metaphorically, of the 488 class, because we will combine the 488 challenge with the copper shell competitors later on, so they will be on the same grid, but obviously they score in their own separate class. There is Tommy Lindroth, and he may feel the metaphorical breath of Alexei Komarov in his neck, and he's got the hurry up and therefore pushing again personal best first sector, trying to maintain his P1 in class, as Fabrizio Fontana has pulled into the pit lane. He feels like he's done enough, and it will be a tough order for anybody to really get on terms with him in this quali session. Tommy Lindroth, another personal best through Sector 2.
Yeah, so Tommy doing a good job here. Driving the 227 car then. And Fabrizio Fontana from Tommy Lindroth. And as I mentioned then, he is... we're seeing some of the finest racing we've seen from Tommy Lindroth. He's always been, for as long as I've known him, there or thereabouts. And Tommy Lindroth then heading towards the timing line now. And he... Oh, and there is Fabienne Volvend in the red shirt there with the headphones on. She is Tommy's driver coach. To her right-hand side is, or to the right-hand side as we look at it, is Ines from the Baron Motorsport team, and Fabienne then in constant radio communication with Tommy as Armin Arifpour and Hanno Laskowski discuss their qualifying session just a few moments ago. Two of the drivers there. And Fabrizio Fontana, as Nico has said, has parked the car, and I think that's quite wise because he's got a margin of 2.5 or 2.25 seconds, and he's going to keep the tyres as into the best condition that they can by not stressing them too much, by doing more laps. And you know, you get into this scenario where, you know, actually the margins of improvement, you know, when you're already P1 with a healthy margin, you better off keeping the tyres for the race, I would have suggested, and that's precisely what they've done. However, Tommy is improving yet again.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a seesaw battle between him and Alexei Komarov, because last time around Tommy did improve, but he needed effectively all of that improvement to fend off the attack or attempt by Alexei Komarov, and now the two of them are going once again, and they're putting in personal best, but Sector 2 of Alexei wasn't a quick one anymore, so Tommy can maybe breathe a little bit easier for a moment in that P2 in class. Let's see how he decides what he does at the end of this lap. He's certainly finishing that lap, and rightfully so, as he's on pace for an improvement. A 158.478 becomes a 149.967. So for the time, it looks like a relatively safe P2, but we still got 3 minutes and around about 5 seconds remaining. So it's not done yet.
Now, the reason you see Fabrizio Fontana still in the car, what we would call suited and booted, with the crash helmet on, hands device still attached, and seatbelts racing harness fully fastened, is because Fabrizio Fontana remains in the car because he would go out again if he felt anyone was really threatening his provisional pole time. I think it's unlikely within the 2.5 minutes we have remaining in this qualifying session, although Tommy has got closer, and it's only Fabrizio and Tommy that are into the 140s. Every other driver into the 150s, and here is the Tommy Lindroth car. There you could just see Alexei Komarov, and as Nico pointed out, there's been quite a seesaw battle between Tommy Lindroth and Alexei Komarov over this 20-minute qualifying session. Tommy has not parked it, but has banked the 149.967. Here's Pino Frascaro. Is this going to be an improvement from Pino as he heads towards the timing line now, with 2 minutes remaining in this qualifying session for our 488 cars, which will line up behind the 296s of our Cobra Shell category. Tommy now, he is taking it all together a bit more easy, and he's not improving. You can see Sector 1 and Sector 2 have not shown improvements, and it may be that Tommy decides at the conclusion of this lap to bring it into the pit lane, or maybe he will complete the lap, and indeed he does. Ivan David Mari then has just set a personal best time through Sector 1, and Tommy Lindroth, for the moment, steadfast in that P2 position. So the 219 car of Ivan David Mari, currently 4th fastest in our 488 grid of cars. Fabrizio Fontana untouched at the moment with his 148.228. So Ivan David Mari didn't have the middle sector that he would have quite liked. He lost a few 100ths in that middle sector relative to his previous best time. As he accelerates now, it is Fabrizio Fontana from Tommy Lindroth, from Alexei Komarov. Then it is Ivan David Mari and Pino Frascaro. So Ivan then takes the car to the timing line, crosses it, stays P4, some 4 seconds down on the best time, which was set much earlier on in this session by Fabrizio Fontana, who now you can see is out of the car, talking to his driver coach, Stefano Guy. He feels, Nico, that he has done enough.
Yeah, and it would be a brave person to bet against that, as the time is ticking down. As you can see 3, 2, 1 second. That means only the laps that have been begun now can be completed, and well, on the risk of being caught out very much from left field, I rather think that there is nobody really challenging from that P1, even though Ivan David Mari is pushing again and has put in a personal best, but even through Sector 1, that's a second off the time from this man, who's giving us a thumbs up and a smile, and well deserved.
Yes, so Fabrizio then, as we mentioned earlier on in the program, comes from a rallying background. Came into circuit racing in the Ferrari Challenge, and this is the car engineered by Formula Racing, coached by Stefano Guy, that has taken Fabrizio Fontana to P1 at another Rotiform pole position award to add to his plentiful collection, it should be said. So the order on the left-hand side of your screen, as you can see, of course, there are still cars out there, because when the clock counts down to 0, Nico, if any driver crosses the timing line before it's counted down to 0, they can go again and continue the lap that they are on. But I don't think anyone is going to challenge the time of Fabrizio Fontana, if I'm honest with you.
No, that's fair. And there we can see Alexei Komarov coming in, but Ivan David Mari, we believe, will finish his lap, and indeed he does, and indeed he vaults Alexei Komarov for P3, so good thing that we stayed with the action, as Pino Frascaro is the final driver who can still do something about the sequence. You can see the gaps on the left-hand side of your screen in the graphics. Through 2 sectors, he was just over 2 seconds up on Fabrizio Fontana, so there is still an improvement possibly in himself and the car combination, not quite. And that means all the cars either in the pit lane or have taken that checkered flag. That is not a Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo, and therefore doesn't earn a spot on the grid. Yeah, he does.
Indeed so, the 211 car of Alexei Komarov. Congratulated by various members of the team. Alexei then driving one of the cars in the 488 Challenge. Here then come the top 3 for Garage Zenith Best Lap FCI, Ivan David Mari, P3. The 211 car of Alexei Komarov is driven by, or engineered by Scuderia Prague Racing. Rosso Corsa, the team that drives Pino Frascaro. Go Motorsport Baron Racing. Tommy Lindroth then. Good quality from Tommy P2. However, no one could unseat this car and driver combo, which once again on the top step of the metaphorical qualifying podium and in receipt of the Rotiform Pole Position Award, Fabrizio Fontana. So some great images of the 488 Challenge cars then that have had their 20-minute qualifying session. The Challenge cars remain very much a part of the Ferrari Challenge. Fabrizio Fontana takes it to P1 ahead of Tommy Lindroth, P2. Then it's Ivan David Mari and Alexei Komarov, P3 and P4. And Pino Frascaro then, the fifth driver in our collection of 488 cars that will be lining up behind the Copa Shell cars when it comes to race time a little bit later on today. And it is the Copa Shell qualifying that we have that will follow momentarily. Okay. Not satisfied with one helicopter. My colleague alongside me has two for personal transport between track and three. Between track and hotel. As I promised you, the Copa Shell drivers will be lining up to go out on track. Some 12 of those who have a 20-minute qualifying session. And it looks to me like Henry Hassid is going to be the first one out of the pit lane, Nico.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet against that as the green flag flies, and therefore this quali session, 20 minutes, is underway. Henry Hassid, as you perfectly identified, leading Andreas Rizzi out of the pit lane. So those two with a head start over everybody else. It is a shorter qualifying session, as we already said, 20 minutes for the 488 Challenge Evo and 20 minutes for Copa Shell. And that means all the strategy condensed from 30 rather than 20 minutes. Corinna Gosler was the third car to file out of pit lane. There is the Shark von Skelterman. The Dutch, very experienced driver here in the Ferrari Challenge, been part of the challenge for many years and many iterations of the car that's been used in the challenge. From the 488, which was the car all the drivers used last year, now to the 296 challenge. Another incarnation of the Shark and another livery. And, you know, von Skelterman really takes it to the maximum. He's got the Shark theme on the helmet, and yes, I'm sure in many, many other parts of his apparel and travel kit, it is really present in many, many ways.
And it means that he has one of the most photographed challenge cars by dint of that, almost, you know. I don't think that was ever the strategy or the reason behind it, but nonetheless it has worked. Tibor Valint for Ferrari Budapest and Rosso Corsa. Now Tibor, of course, has got a long history in the Ferrari Challenge and deciding to return to the Ferrari Challenge this year and race in it, as indeed does his son. So here is von Skelterman then, driving for the Kessel Racing Team, the team founded by Loris Kessel and continuing to be run today by Loris, the late Loris's son, Ronnie. Well, von Skelterman always been very, very loyal to the team. Now here is a driver of much improvement, Nico. John Dillon for Grey Paul Nottingham. Being coached this weekend by Sean Doyle, I believe. And John has had quite some podiums this season. The first win has eluded. Could this be the weekend for John?
In the Ferrari Challenge, anything's possible, and many things will. And John Dillon, as you already said, he has really been consistent.
Yes.
And has proved that he can definitely mix it up with all the other drivers. If I'd had to pick a favorite, would it be John? Not yet, quite. But if I had to make a guess if John will get his first win this year, I think the chances are, and I certainly wouldn't bet against him for today.
This is Corinna Gosner that we're watching right now, driving at 226 kilometers per hour before braking. You can see the numbers on the right-hand side of the graphics there. When they're green, it's acceleration. When they're red, it's braking. And driving uphill right now, reaching 198 kilometers per hour before braking, and then back on the gas again for Corinna Gosner in the 173 car. She, of course, is part of the famed Gosner family who do so much racing in this category alone. There are 3 of the Gosner family. Corinna, who we're watching right now, Manuela, her sister, and also Thomas, father to both of them. And all of them are blisteringly quick and absolutely committed to their racing in the Ferrari Challenge, and it's great to see. We have some 12 drivers in this shortened qualifying session of 20 minutes for our Ferrari Challenge Cup shell cars. And Corinna Gosner then is about to put her first lap on the board. The first real-timed lap has come from Henry Hassid at 1:51.130. We expect that to be improved upon by some margin come the end of the remaining 15.5 minutes that we have in this qualifying, as Corinna now goes fastest, Nico, with a 1:49.546. Great lap from Corinna Gosner. Here's Henry Hassid, and there, just behind, is John Dillon. Cars that look very similar in colour scheme, which makes it difficult for us to identify just sometimes. So Henry Hassid, race winner this year, and another driver that has returned to the Ferrari Challenge. The bug is difficult to shake off, When you've done it once, you want to do it again and again and rerun the fun. And that's precisely what Henry Hassid is doing, and having a good time of it. He's currently second fastest, but I venture to suggest that this might be a quick lap from him. He certainly looks like he's all bar the kitchen sink, throwing everything at it. We'll see what he can do. Corinna Gosner, quickest. Andreas Rizzi, who's 4th fastest at the moment, has got a track limits violation, so the lap that he's on is not going to count, which is somewhat unfortunate. No such strife for Henry Hassid, though, as he rolls the 296 Challenge car downhill and then back on the gas before the last couple of turns. And, of course, the start-finish straight, more than a kilometre, or very nearly more than a kilometre long if you included the final turn. His lights flashing furiously as he takes 4.9 seconds out of his previous best time, as we expected, and posts a time of 1:44.638. Here comes von Skelterman, Nico.
Yeah, the shark. And you can see how aggressive the car looks and how aggressive he is attacking the curb as well. He's not quite on pace for the moment, so it's going through. Get your words straight. Going through the warm-up progression with his Pirelli P0s and the car. He will challenge for the top positions in but a few moments. Corinna Gosner followed Henry Hassid. She also with a quick time of 1:45.324, currently in P2. Von Skelterman, he is P3, but he's a good 9 seconds off the pace for the time being, so that will change for sure. As we now have all but one of the drivers, Alexander Nussbaumer, out on the circuit. And with 13 minutes remaining, this qualifying session, I predict, will go fast and furious over the next few minutes, with personal best and overall best coming in quick succession. And one of those who is working exactly to make me look right for once is Henry Hassid, who's put in 2 purple sectors and is 1.2 seconds to the good of his own provisional pole.
Oh, you do yourself a disservice, Nico, as Henry just finds a little bit of drying grass on the inside of that apex and kicks some dust up, as Manuela Gosner is ahead, who certainly won't impede Henry Hassid as he crosses the timing line. And, well, quite an improvement, 1:43.683 from Henry Hassid. You called that pretty correctly, didn't you?
Well, and Henry Hassid, as you said, just went past Manuela Gosner with ease. That has not been the case recently. They had great battles over the last 2 events in Balaton and at Jerez, with mixed fortunes, it has to be said. Both drivers gaining a victory from those respective races. Good pace, obviously, for both of them. And if those two happen to be behind each other, which is rather likely, I dare say, getting past the other is not going to be nearly as easy as it was in qualifying. But obviously here, everybody very fair, getting out of the way, absolutely doing everything they can not to hinder the other driver's progress. Very, very fair and very, very good atmosphere overall, as we follow the 1-2-2 car of Andreas Rizzi. He also a race winner back in Balaton. And he is currently P2, but he's pushing and pushing with a purple first sector.
Not pushing is Tibor Valentine, suffice to say.
Yeah, no, he obviously Hungarian, and
he's building it up now to start a lap, isn't he?
Indeed, Balaton was his home race, and he already took a race win this season, and for the time being he hasn't put in a time onto our tiling screen. Therefore, 2 personal bests, not necessarily something that will matter in the short term, but what happens after he crosses the finish line is certainly going to be much more significant for his success.
Yes, as he builds speed now, basically you use the final turns as a setup really to go for a lap, and that's exactly what Tibor Valent is doing right now. John Dillon has put in a very good 1:44.428 to make him second fastest, Nico. So it is Andreas Rizzi that gets relegated a place. So it's Henry Hassid, who I rather think is going to park the car now and hope that he has done enough. He'll probably stay suited and booted inside the car so that if anyone gets close, he will be able to go out and respond. And out there responding at the moment is Motohiko Isesaki, Copa Shell Am champion from last year, elevated to the Copa Shell class this year. And Motohiko Isesaki, we run the clock on right now. He's currently 5th fastest. We'll be hoping to find an improvement here. He was of course, racing in the Japan series as well as racing here in Europe. So a lot of these drivers choosing to intermingle with other regions of the Ferrari Challenge, and Motohiko Isesaki is definitely one of those.
Yeah, absolutely, and he is adding experience with every time he takes to the track. Very, very good showing back in Jerez, and led race 2 for some of the way. Eventually dropped a few positions, but still very, very good showing, especially considering, as you say, he was racing in Copa Shell M just last year, and now he's very much at the sharp end of the competition in Copa Shell, which we've seen over the last year and a half. This is maybe top to bottom the most competitive one, where we've seen 6 or 7 different race winners last year in the Copa Shell, and this year is no difference. We've seen Henry Hassid, Manuel Agostna, Tibor Valent, Andreas Rizzi already having taken race wins. And I've probably forgotten one in my list. Motohiko Isesaki, not one of them yet, but you wouldn't bet against him.
I think yet is a good word. Manuela Gosner has just gone 2nd fastest, Nico. It's only Manuela and Henry Hassid that are into the 143s, and there's 2.5 tenths between the 2 of them. John Dillon then thus far relegated to P3. Then it is Tibor Valent before it's Andreas Rizzi, Corinna and Thomas Gosner, and then Motohiko Isesaki, who heads to break the timing beam now. Not necessarily going to be a big improvement from Motohiko Isesaki. Indeed, he doesn't move from his position. Yet to show, Nico, is Alexander Nussbaumer, curiously.
Yeah, we can see he has just finished his outlap, I believe, based on the timing screen information. So he is, as we understand now, taking part, and he's currently therefore P last. But that is, I am sure, just a temporary snapshot, and that will certainly change. Manuela Agostna, well, race winner in Jerez. She is currently in P2, and always good to have her figuring in the Ferrari Challenge. She obviously affiliated with Ferrari and the Ferrari Challenge for many, many years. Very, very successful, multiple race winner, and she is finishing this attempt, and it is a provisional P1 with a 1:43.439. So she takes P1 away from Henry Hassid. And have we seen that battle before this season?
Yes.
It's one of the most visible. Certainly having put on a great show already for us this year.
So here is Corinna Gostner's sister to our provisional pole setter, Manuela. So now the zero that you can see alongside the bars there mentioned to you that Henry Hassid had come in and he'd parked the car, Nico, and he would only go out again if he needed to respond. Well, Manuela Gostner has given him the provocation to so do, dare I say. And it's going to be a short, sharp blast for Henry because there's only 6¼ minutes remaining in the session. He's going to have to come out, and indeed is out because we can see him there, prep the car, prep himself to post another lap. Now, what he's interested in here, of course, is the pride of P1 from qualifying, but not only the pride of P1, the additional point it garners in qualifying as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to give credit to Alexander Nussbaumer, he obviously also a race winner already this year. So 5 different winners from 6 races. Henry Hassid is the only one who got 2 of those already. He would really love to make it 3. And the next round of the challenge, just looking a little bit ahead, is going to be in Le Castellet. So that's going to be home field advantage, or home track advantage rather, for him.
Yep.
John Dillon, he's P2 in the championship. He hasn't had a race win, as you already said, but he's been very, very close and very, very consistent throughout the year. And another image of consistency with P3 for the time being, once again from John. For Great Paul Nottingham, great showing. This lap probably not going to be the improvement, but still got 5 minutes of this session left.
Yes, for John it's been about making the most he can and banking the points, which gives him that P2 position in the Drivers' Championship. So here is Manuela Gostner then, who has put the car on P1 or in P1 at the moment with a 1:43.439. And a great showing from Manuela Gostner. However, Henry Hassid has now started a timed lap, Nico. It'll be very interesting to take a look at the sector times of Henry Hassid for Kessel Racing then, with 4.5 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. Will the Rotiform pole position award go the way of Henry Hassid or Manuela Gostner, or maybe even John Dillon or Tibor Valent or Alexander Nussbaumer? You can name just about every driver in that pack of cars, and they're all capable of taking it.
Yeah, absolutely. Henry Hassid, first sector, not good by his standards. Certainly 1 second on the wrong side, plus a track limit warning. So that lap he can kind of, I don't want to say take easy, but he doesn't have to push too much. But that means after he's just come out of the pit lane, that lap probably wasn't going to be the one to hang his hat on, the metaphorical one, obviously, but it may be the one after that. Tibor Valent, meanwhile, and thank you guys for picking it up, quickest overall after 2 sectors, so he's really pushing and he is finishing that lap, and it is indeed not an improvement at the end. It is an improvement in terms of time, but it was an improvement in terms of positioning, so he remains in P4, second row start for as things stand.
Yeah, that was all building up really rather nicely for a crescendo across the line, and then it didn't. I don't think this is going to be an improvement from Henry Hassid either, but the Sector 1 and Sector 2 are not where we want them to be. But he will be able to go again. We've got 3 minutes remaining. It's Gostner, Hassid, Dillon, Valent, Nussbaumer, Gostner, Ritzy, Gostner. A pattern there, isn't there? Then it's Ray Acosta, Christoph Herney, Motohiko Isasaki, and von Skildmar go out of position.
Yeah, he's just about to finish that lap, so I expect, based on the timings that he's put in the first 2 sectors, in about 3 or 4 seconds, he will probably vault a little bit up the order, and if I can continue that sentence long enough, I will just make it actually, no, he lost a lot of time in the final sector. So with a 1:45.077, still 1.6 seconds down. So he certainly still has work to do over that last bit of qualifying session. Manu Gostner, first 2 sectors, color coding not particularly jumping from the screen, but only 4/100ths slower than her own provisional pole time, so she may still stretch her legs a little bit and get some extra gap towards this driver, Henry Hassid, who after this lap will have at least one more attempt of trying to do something about his positioning. Well, it's going to be exactly one more attempt, because with now 1 minute 39 seconds, everybody who now starts a lap, that's going to be their final one. Alexander Nussbaumer, in the meantime, he's gone up to P5, and he is still showing quick sector time, so expect potentially a leap up from P5 into the row 1 or row 2 in due course. Henry Hassid, he is starting now the final attempt of conquering pole position.
It's now or never for Henry Hassid. This is the 136 car of Alexander Nussbaumer. The fraught fight to the finish of qualifying. Alexander Nussbaumer is going to be able to go again. Personal best through Sector 1 and Sector 2. Lost time in Sector 3, so he remains P5. John Dillon has parked the car. He is P3 at the moment. Corinna Gostner and Ray Acosta have also parked their cars. So there are 9 cars still out there on track trying to vie to better their qualifying position for their race to come for our Copa Shell drivers this afternoon. This is Henry Hassid. We will get the cumulative time and see what he is doing. But Henry Hassid, for the moment, it's a 32.296 through Sector 1. Perhaps not quite as quick as he would like it to be. He's just 8 100ths down, Nico. So he's found time in Sector 2. I mean, we are talking about tiniest of margins of difference, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly the drama we would like to have at the end of this qualifying slate. It's the final session, and we are talking about 100ths to determine pole position for the race later on. Henry Hassid, he's now starting that final long winding stretch, that final turn, and then it's going to be out onto the home straight. Pole position, Manuel Agostner or Henry Hassid? Who's going to be?
Who is it going to be? Well, it's not going to be Henry Hassid. It's going to be Manuela Gostner that takes pole position, and from a confidence point of view, that will be good. That will be good for her to feel. Henry Hassid, he did come out and respond and tried to take it. Alexander Nussbaumer, is this going to be an improvement? No, he's slowed right down. He's going to park the car into the pit lane. So the front row will be Manuela Gostner and Henry Hassid. Then it will be John Dillon and Tibor Valint. So Manuela is congratulated there, including by Zois Skrimpias, who's gives her a hug. Zois Skrimpias, of course, Ferrari Challenge racer of some repute himself, it has to be said. And there is Giorgio Sonagiotto, team boss, partner, good egg. And, you know, he has seen his protege, Manuela Gostner, put it on pole position, Nico. That is the Rotiform Pole Position Award to be awarded to her then, and not only that is the additional point, isn't it, for qualifying?
Yeah, absolutely. Manu Gostner with quite a forgettable start to the season by her own standards. Only 18 points from the first 2 events combined. Now, she followed that up with 30 points from Jerez, and that's the first point here for pole position, plus 1 for being on the entry list. Don't forget that. But she's certainly closing in. That means she's now on terms with John Dillon with that extra point in P2. And, you know, it's still a long way to Henry Hassid, who's put it on P2, but you can only do what you can do, and she maxed what she could do, and she seems fairly happy with that.
Yes, I think you're right. Germana Toniella there offering congratulations to Manuela Gostner. She's done it. Pole position then from Henry Hassid, John Dillon, Tibor Valint, Alexander Nussbaumer, Thomas Gostner, Christoph Ernie, Andreas Rizzi, Corinna Gostner, Ray Acosta, Motohiko Isasaki, and Fons Skeltermar. There you go. I managed to say that before even seeing the graphics on the screen, but there they are, as if you needed further confirmation of how it looked in the Copa Shell qualifying. Their 20-minute session was very dramatic and really enjoyable, which is something of a precursor to the race to come this afternoon, I venture to say. It's going to be a good one. Please make sure you join us for that if you possibly can. There are drivers that are not where they should be in qualifying, including Fons Skeltermar, so right down at the bottom of the pack. expect him to do some overtaking, So there we have it then, the iconic shot of the tower here around the turn here at the Portimão circuit. From Nico and from myself, thanks for watching qualifying. We'll see you for 3 brilliant races to come from the Ferrari Challenge this afternoon. Goodbye for now.